Harrowings live with Hal Gill, your host. Passing show. Got in Free Service LLC picking up some waste recyclables on what it looks like. It's good to see. Need to get some recyclables out of my bunker a little later. We're going to head back to the bunker after a while, but right now we're going to go out and look at who, what, when, and where here in Washington, D.C. I'm going to make a fairly big loop, I think. At least that was my thought when I started walking. It's the Embassy of Sierra Leone right across the street here. And I am moving. I believe I'm going to be able to cross this road now, right? Yeah. It's always right before the hand. Can you imagine the world that child will see? Provided it survives everything that life is going to throw at it. When we're thrown into this life, we really don't have a roadmap for it. And we're entrusted to other primates who have their own struggles in our civilized society. Now, admittedly, if you know how to play the game right, it ends up not being too bad. Taking a look at some roses, I always stop. Oh my gosh, that's wonderfully fragrant rose. So, take the time it needs to think about how we can be better ancestors for this youngster across the way and create a world that will help them realize their potential. Potential of a human being is really remarkable because of our flexible ability and our ability to manipulate things with our digits. That building is totally being redone. I'm on R Street Northwest at this point, heading to the east, almost to 18th Street. I don't know how far I'll end up going, actually. I had a fair amount of goodies at the Emissary Pergamino during my office hours from 7:30 to 9, when I tend to hold forth there, hold space for others if they wish to join. No one does. It's okay. No one does this time. I have had some conversations there, but by and large, it's been pretty quiet in the past 9 days. The ongoing practice of starting my day there has some costs associated with it. I tend to make sure that I tip the staff and do what I'm supposed to. So it may end up not being sustainable, but it's a practice and it's a new life for me. Changing my practices to see if I can't change myself. Discipline. We're going to be talking about discipline and practice and such tomorrow evening with a fellow who signed up to be on my podcast, Harrowings, which is nice. I've been trying to get some folks lined up. It would be interesting to talk to, and I've definitely landed a few. Let's see who's here actually right now. Origin, good to have you. Daniel, I don't know how to pronounce all that. Daniel Yorte, Steve, Kelsey, Marissa, Trevor England, Q, and Chester B is joined. Good to have you all. 6 of you so far. I've only been on for a few minutes, I think. It's 9:08. Yeah, I couldn't make much more than 5 minutes that we've been running. So what am I on about? Well, I had an interesting interaction earlier today. It's the first time it's happened on Substack. I don't know if you all have run into this yourselves, but, in my outreach, I noticed somebody liked a note I put out there, and I liked that. Bounced it off of them. And the idea of becoming a podcast and such. And they were scheduled and they suddenly canceled. Something went wrong with an interaction they had with somebody, I guess. It was like, wow, why are they reacting like that? So I just held space. And over the next several days, I guess that was the 15th when we first connected, and now it's the 19th. So it's only been about 4 days. The conversation just got really whacked out. And I was like, what in the world is going on with this person? Well, today it got really accusatorial, sort of projecting onto me all kinds of mind bending, stuff. And I was like, I don't know what to do about that. Well, I finally figured out what to do about that. There's some folks that are just one reason or another, something's wrong with them. And I haven't walked a mile in their shoes, but you don't necessarily have to enable that and make yourself available for abuse. And that's the way it was beginning to feel. And I know enough to see the hallmarks of that. Saw it yesterday, sort of tried to do what I could to be conciliatory and friendly. But I realized this person's really bent somehow in some way and has like totally flipped the script. So that was distressing, right? A little bit. Not that I haven't encountered that online many times, and I know what to do. And hopefully, the blocking and Substack is effective and erases me from that person's point of view and erases them from mine. And I also reported it thinking the person might be an extremist and be a danger to themselves or others. I'm not sure if that's true or not. It's really a hard thing to say, right? But at the same time, I think you miss 100% of the shots you don't take in many ways. And if you see something, say something, I think should be one of our watchwords. It's dicey. Makes you feel a little uncertain of have I done the right thing? I don't know, and I never will. In this case, I expect. I hope I never do. One way or the other. I hope the person finds what they need out there. That's all we can do, right? Hope that they find the right landing spot. Because honestly, this world will really tear people up. And if they don't get the help they need, they can turn into, well, weapons. Let's be frank. Words are weapons sharper than knives, it's said in excess. I don't know if that's true or not, but certainly it can be destabilizing. To me, the photons that hit my retina are just that. It's the processing of those photons within my brain that matters and that results in actions that I take in the world. And I have a sort of inner architecture from my practice, from the discipline of doing what I'm doing, which includes a lot of walking lately, trying to get myself healthier. It's a struggle. I am pretty healthy, but there's this issue of like carrying around more weight than I ought to, which could shorten my life substantially. So I changed subjects, right? But I haven't changed subjects at the same time. It's about navigating society, navigating the world, navigating being incarnate. I've never seen mind without body. So this idea that we are spirits in the material worlds, I'm breathing. Yes, that's spirit. Spiritus, Latin word for breath. In breath, out breath. That's me. Wrote about it a little bit earlier today in my posting from office hours. And you know what? I don't know. I just know how things seem to me. I just know that I wish the best for everyone. I want to accept everyone just the way they are. It's Hong Kong's economic and trade office here. I don't have any business there at the moment, but might some point in the future. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. It's like the Rumsfeld doctrine, right? There are known unknowns, there are unknown knowns, and there are unknown unknowns. Things we don't know, we don't know. And that was, he was really kind of pilloried for that, but he wasn't wrong about that. And interesting speech. Donald Rumsfeld shuffled off the moral coil. Some time ago, we've got a whole world that's been shaped by those people who, for one reason or another, wanted to be in power and managed to attain it. currying favor enough to become part of this complete kerfuffle of the world. It's always a bit of chaos in it. There's always a bit of heaven in it also. There's order behind the chaos. There are a lot of people making their way from dawn to dusk and back again. I've ended up at Massachusetts Avenue. It looks like the crossing is with me here. Maybe. Does seem like that car is turning. It'd be hard by the American Enterprise Institute. May have to start suiting up and showing up one of these days soon. I do clean up pretty well. I don't know exactly what my next incarnation is going to be. Right now, I'm a flaneur, taking in the passing show, and a little disjointed this morning as I'm wandering. In my mind, I'm wondering what's going to be next. I'm wandering physically in the city without a specific goal in mind. I do need to be back by noon, I believe. And then 2 o'clock, we got Russ Cole coming on Harrowing's podcast. And we're going to scratch the surface with Russ a bit. I don't know how long he's got for me, but I'm looking forward to hearing about his latest adventures. Russ was the sergeant major of the Corps during the tenure I had from 1974 to 1978 when he graduated. I think that was the same year Dylan graduated, probably, who just passed away. So we're going to probably talk a bit about Dylan and stories we remember. Yeah, he was a good spirit. It really helped me a lot. I don't know how people can run and talk at the same time, but they can. Ladies there jogging by. It's hard work. Keeping the body fit, keeping in form. Embassy of Uzbekistan is right across the street. A nice big old building there. Passing by the Brookings Institution, Johns Hopkins, Embassy of Colombia, the Philippines. Coming up on the Embassy of Australia down at the Circle. Don't know if that's where I'm going or not. Might continue down Massachusetts any length of time. It's 9 o'clock at the Smithsonian American Art Museum. I don't think we'll open until 11. Got a little bit of time before some of my regular haunts are open. We are trying to take in a bit of the passing show. David A. Andelman wanted me to find the National Guard, which I did. On Sunday, I guess it was. Found him south of the Circle, south of the Lincoln Memorial Circle, that is. Right by the Lincoln Memorial, there were some trucks. Looked like a platoon of National Guard from D.C. assembled, getting their lunch from a van, and that didn't seem like they were doing much, but they were present. I understand they've been deputized so they can act as deputies of the local police force or something like that. And there are other agents and agencies out in the streets doing their jobs, presumably, pretty roughly from what I've seen. Don't really know what to say about that. I'm at the Bay State. Friend Patrick, he's gone on to the other side. He used to live in the Bay State. Life is a continual series of losses. They're all heading one place. So while we have breath in the body, we should probably keep in mind that every cent we spend is a vote for a kind of world we're co-creating and leaving to our progeny. I don't have biological progeny myself, but everyone younger than me and all those who will survive me are my descendants. So let's try to be good ancestors if we're able to be. Hmm. We are at 54% power. I do have a battery in the pocket if I need it to extend that. We're outside the Embassy of Peru, heading down 17th Street. Looking behind me, I'm going to cut across here, maybe. Maybe. No, maybe not. Maybe yes. I can't say. Maybe yes, maybe no. It's, then when I see a young person, I think, wow, what kind of a world are they going to see? What kind of world are any of us going to see? I just got a list of like 40 jobs that are likely to go away with the advent of artificial intelligence. Many of them are ones I did. In fact, my chosen career coming out of graduate school was as a translator, and I buggered that. I have a friend who does contracts translators, though, and I haven't done any in a while. I said I'd get back to her, and I forgot to. I'm not that eager, I guess, to do much more than what I'm doing now, which I really do enjoy. Hope to have another conversation with some of my previous guests. Jay Benner and I thought, well, we did hit something. It's a little nebulous, but it was very interesting to listen to her and to get her perspectives on life, the universe, and everything, and hear some of her adventures. And hopefully, we'll hear more later. And then, of course, we've got Jessica Alpha and Petpedia to catch up with. Kay Stoner has been good enough to ping me this morning. I was thinking of her, and then boom, there it was. So we're going to be on again. Is it tomorrow morning, 9:30? Yes, I think so. So we're going to go diving into AI this week, and she is actually so active in that field and writing regularly that I think that amplifying her voice, in particular through my networks, is a good idea. My networks may not be as robust as others. I do have 575 or 574 followers at this point, or subscribers, and that's good. 14 of them are paid subscribers, so they are my board of directors, who seem not to be all that interested in trying to direct me. Not even sure if I take direction well, but it is what it is. Hmm. Daniel Webster, expounder and defender of the Constitution. You read up on Webster. Winfield Scott, or Scott Circle, facing down the 16th Street to the White House. Embassy of Australia behind me, as I was mentioning earlier. Good scene of Webster in the Senate. And tense looking character. Canopy down there at the Beacon Hotel, where our matron of honor at my wedding was put up by my wife with her husband and their child. I hope we paid their airfare too. I'm not sure we did, but I don't remember. She was very good, my wife, about getting all the wedding arrangements done. It was a beautiful wedding. I mean, I couldn't really think of a more lovely expression of our commitment to each other, which goes on. Folks in there, looks like having breakfast. Canopy. And we're heading down by the Jefferson Hotel, where my cousin Rhonda and her husband tied the knot years ago. I attended that. There's the National Education Association across the way. So, building up the Russian embassy down the way as well. Saw the Russian flag flying over there. So you think that all these international institutions get some mashup going. The Chinese American story is an American story. There's the Chinese American Museum. Atlantic Society was next door. There's the Human Resource DC Cap Hotelier. Quill. And the entrance to the hotel here, the Jefferson. Holding the door. Giving directions, perhaps. We are in the street, northwest. Got a countdown on that clock. I mean, I think it so we may cross. Yes. Trying to put a few miles on before I go back. Watching for the light. Got it. Might give a little space. Looking down at the White House. I don't know if world leaders are still in town or not, but you see down there is the White House where they're having the meetings recently on the Ukraine war, and leaders of Europe, leaders of Ukraine, leaders of the United States coming together to try to hash out a plan to get a permanent peace established after the war that was fomented largely, I think, by certainly Russia's paranoia about the situation there and their feelings towards a unified Russia, which included the Ukraine at one time, but the Ukrainian independence established in 1992 needs to be defended, and they have been effectively defended against all odds, costing the Russian people a great number of their soldiers, which is carving out huge swaths in people's lives. You think about every one of us when we lose somebody, it's tears a hole in the relationships we have with each other, and that inflicts pain, psychic pain, at a level that's hard to really fathom. This is the Metropolitan African Methodist Episcopal Church, AME. It's the national cathedral of African Methodism and was founded in the District of Columbia in 1838. It's the oldest one and oldest continuously Black-owned property in Washington, D.C. And the church represents the merger of two congregations, Israel Bethel AME in 1821 and Union Bethel AME in 1838. The latter was a stop on the Underground Railroad. They merged in 1870, and they've been this since 1872. The denomination was founded in 1787 by Richard Allen in protest against segregated worship in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Was incorporated in 1816. And this cornerstone was laid in 1881. The church was completed in 1886. African Methodist Episcopal members throughout the United States contributing funding to build this edifice. Their sacrificial gifts are memorialized in Metropolitan's priceless and majestic stained glass windows, which document the growth of the African Methodist Episcopal Church from 1816 to 1896. And the history and cultural significance of this institution was nationally recognized with the designation of the property as a National Historic Landmark, July 26, 1973. Embodies its deepest Christian Methodist covenant and its sanctuaries welcoming all people for worship, built to the glory of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Black Lives Matter, today, tomorrow, and always. So I think amplifying that signal through the noise is something we need to continue to do. There's more information about it here on the African American Heritage Trail. We stopped at one of these yesterday as well. And it talks about this church started on Capitol Hill in 1821 as Israel Bethel. It's founded by African Americans denouncing white racism at Ebenezer Methodist Episcopal Church. Ebenezer Church still there. Yeah. So this is very interesting to me because I used to go to Capitol Hill United Methodist Church, where the Reverend Ginger Gaines Sorelli, who's currently at Foundry United Methodist Church, was pastor. And she was always looking for opportunities, as was the successor of this. Gosh, I had the name a second ago. Lassiter, Alyssa Lassiter, who succeeded Ginger as well, tried to build relationships as much as possible, as did Ebenezer United Methodist Church. They're on opposite corners of the same block. And I just found that fascinating because it's a sign, right? A sign of how our collective experience is. 1968 building here. Retail space, the lease. Pull it together, yeah. Like beads on one string, it's often said. Getting kind of tired. There are people that are clearly not 100% in our world. And there's a lot of us are trying to negotiate relations with each other so that we don't hurt each other. But we're pretty dangerous, and we do tend to lash out at each other, given the opportunity, particularly if we're in fear of each other. So I try to keep applying the Mr. Rogers method of liking people just the way they are, but I don't have to tolerate every kind of behavior there is on the call. So there's a balance. You have to be careful of where our feet are as well. I just tripped it a little. And yeah, the way it goes. Still haven't really got my gimbal working, by the way, so if the camera is shaking around too much for you, and I don't blame you for not watching, but turning off this visual. I don't know. Let's see what I can do here. I'm so mad. I don't have to go anywhere in particular, but I wanted just to look around in here. It's kind of dark and weird. I'm going to go this way. People over there. There's a little restaurant I'm outside of. Dolphins. I never have eaten at all these places. Coffee shop. Here to have a restaurant. I don't need it just yet. I think I'll keep walking. Newsstand. It was interesting to see who's about. Me included. Definitely need to reduce. And so that's what I'm working on doing. This walks, these talks. Had some really healthy food today. And now we are in another one of these little dark tunnels. The road less traveled, as it were. I don't want to go now. That's always an open question, right? Like, just charge out across here. It's so hard. Hotel. Cauterizing. I think about cauterize a lot as a way of sealing off and healing There are times when you've had to cut off an appendage and that's burn the wound so as not to bleed out from it. Cauterization. Horrible. Life itself, being incarnate, seems to be fraught with opportunities to be injured. And I don't know why I'm focused on that right now. I think it's largely because I think in terms of relationships with others and how distant most people are from each other. And yet you all are here. Epigenetics and how we carry generational pain. Very interesting. Origin, thank you. Perception is reality. That bites hard. Good morrow. Thank you. And yeah, I'd like to talk about that, the epigenetics, the way in which your grandfather's trauma is visited upon you. And my grandfather's trauma included, apparently, family lore goes that he delivered a beating to his father, who came home drunk one night. This is the way I envision it. And the old man died of his injuries. That was in 1935 or so. And he then married and settled down shortly thereafter and started his family. But he had inadvertently, by getting into a fight with his father, killed his father. So patricide was there in the shadows of the farm on which they continued to live and work for years. And to carry that burden, it's horrific, right? I don't know what to say about that. I don't even know if it's true entirely. It leaked to my sister from my mother's twin brother's daughter, and then was supposedly confirmed by one of our members of our family. And I don't know, I've confabulated most of it, envisioned it as I see it, and I don't know if it's true at all. And these hungry ghosts, these people who, there's a thing that Leadbeater wrote about the astral plane and the denizens thereof, which include the spirits of those who met violent ends and don't even know they're dead. They just know they're hungry. The hungry ghosts. In Buddhism, they talk about this as well. And they interact with us. We interact with them. Though we may not be able to feel it or see it. We live out their unlived lives in some cases. And I remember, I'll tell you this story. This is a hard one to tell. I was seeing off my sister-in-law and wife of the time when my then wife was clearing out her half of our stuff, never to be seen again by me in the flesh. And I took her out to dinner that night. I had a bad exit, so I'd come back to make a better exit. And it was my last opportunity, so took them out to dinner. And as they were talking about the night before, they said each of them separately had been awakened by the same shade at the foot of their beds. And they compared dreams, and both had had the same thing. They thought at first it was me. And come back into the house. They realized it wasn't. They had woken from that space of sleep and dream to see this figure standing at the foot of the bed just watching them, wearing a hat. And it became apparent that it was much older than I was at the time, but about my build. And it reminded me very much of the photograph of the Jordan, my great-grandfather, who was supposedly, if this family lore trickling to me in the game of telephone is correct, it sounded like it was my great-grandfather's shade, which would kind of make sense. Jordan had lost his wife to a heat stroke. She'd suffered, and they walked away to the summer kitchen at the old home place sometime in the 20s. I'm not sure exactly when Mary Alice Mariner went to meet her Lord, that she passed away there. And the vision I have being held by my then 13-year-old grandfather or so. That's what the legend is in my head. And her husband came something of a, how shall I put it, something of a drunkard. And coming home drunk one night, got into a fight with his son. It was by then in his 20s, and must fall and maybe hit his head. Who knows? I don't know. The word was he died of his injuries. As horrible as that would be. Accidental, so nobody ever charged or anything. I have no real record of it, aside from this bit of family lore, which may or may not be as it seems to have been. But it is interesting to me that apparently this shade was present, and that shadow sort of been there in the background of my life. I don't know. It's possible. I'm kind of skeptical. I think we all are responsible for our actions. I like to say that if I'm having a problem with anything in particular that is volitional, it is a matter of taking responsibility for volitional muscles in my hand and arm, for instance, when it comes to drinking. I don't do it now. And therefore, we're all responsible. We have a great responsibility to be there for one another and not do each other harm. And we can break the intergenerational, those epigenetic patterns by using our prefrontal cortexes, using discipline, practice, not practicing denial, however. We should not deny the past or the past we believe to be the past, even, but rather honor it. Say, hey, if we know better, we do better. If we don't know better, we can't do better. So exposing things to the light, extremely important. Extremely important to be exposed to the light. We've got folks coming up off of the McPherson Square Metro, heading into work, potentially, or somewhere. I see a lot of tourists as well. Expect from Julie to Julier. Again, I'm thinking of Jessica Alpha, who's my guest. It's got Petpedia app coming up that's AI powered that will help people know in advance when their pets need assistance because they can't talk. Okay. All right. About you can. I don't know what that was about. Try to walk and mind my own business mostly, but I am interested in what people are doing, where they're going. University of the Potomac. Folks going in there to get educated, presumably. Over here, I have a clock on the wall, says it's 10:15. Means I've got a little bit more time to walk. May walk myself so far out, I'll need to take the metro, get back to where I once belonged. Looking down 14th Street, northwest. It looks like I could cross again. Yeah, just made it. A lot of noise down that way. You got to be cautious and walk down this way. It's a shelter at the 13th Street Presbyterian where Abraham Lincoln used to worship, apparently. Starbucks coffee across the way, New York Avenue, not too far from Lynn's workplace, the National Press Club building where she works as the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership Human Resources Director and keeps them straight to the extent possible. Really grateful for her work there and hope that people will consider supporting the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership, trcp.org, protecting your hunting and fishing rights around the country. There's their obligatory plug or unavoidable plug for their work. Lynn's father was a great fisherman, as well as uh, hunting with a bow. He made venison jerky with my wife. And, they had sometimes together that were really good. In this case, you're very hard by the downtown day center. Bells is ringing, and the church clock tower for the quarter hour. 9:45. There you go. Again, Abraham Lincoln worships there. Saw a play called Lincoln and God by Tony Gallo. Anthony Gallo, former food economist. Now, playwright. I don't know if Tony's still around or not, actually. It's been years, 17 years since I occupied the basement apartment at 125 7th Street Southeast. Just a few steps from Eastern Market. It's a good place to live. While I lived there, it was going to run down, brick dust from the unsealed, exposed brick wall. I cleared out of there. Got myself back up to Burtonsville, Maryland in 2008, where I lived then with my dear wife. In 2010, we bought a condo down here, and we haven't really looked back since. Kept the townhouse a long time, like longer than we should have, but we managed to move it when my employment came to an end, and that's sustaining me at this point somewhat. Really doing the best we can with what we have. To the point you're able. On 13th Street, I want to be on, I don't know what I'll make it on. There's McDonald's. Yes. Art supply store is up the way. I got a lot of things here when I was living with my then wife. Cab nearly nailed me. I had the count with me. Stonewall at National Museum of Women in the Arts is there. And they're just wrapped up an exhibit called Uncanny. And I don't know what else is going on, really. We are downtown DC, heading into the high rent district here for retail. And what else? Let's see, we've got 30 something. Okay. No other comments really yet. We've had 10 people besides me tuning in. Very nice. Origin, if you're still out there, thanks for triggering the epigenetic stories. I don't usually talk about those things, and it's kind of weird, right? To just lay it out there, this legend. I'm sure that's more common than not, that people have done horrific things that have been swept under the rug. We don't talk about that. And by dint of not talking about it, it just brings things down under the surface. But harrowing can actually till it up. It's very hard work pulling the harrow through the fields, especially when you're basically farming with mules, as my grandfather was during that period. Well, with thriftiness, you probably could have gotten a tractor a lot earlier than they did. Indoor plumbing, all those good things. It took a while to manifest down there. You all need help, Capital City Brewing across the way. The World Health Organization has new guidelines out since at least 2023. I think exactly when they put it out, maybe it's 2022. That the safe amount of alcohol for human consumption is none at all whatsoever. There's no safe amount. It has really done a job on us. Not too dissimilar from nicotine. Historically, of course, my home state, Virginia, was built on the wealth generated by addiction to nicotine, tobacco culture. And, when you kind of think about the law of unintended consequences, as well as the law of consequences, a lot of people, die at my age as a result of use of nicotine um, in excess. Not uncommon at all to pass away from the results of excessive nicotine consumption. This is a long light, longer than I'd like it to be. And no wonder I was just talking about nicotine consumption, and there it is. Right. 44. Grand Hyatt. I think it was at the Grand Hyatt. Was it? Sure. But I remember vaguely seeing the film Cracked Up screened here or one of the neighboring facilities. It's Starbucks. I'm pretty sure it was the Grand Hyatt here. Yeah. In any case, Cracked Up, the Daryl Hammond story, directed by Michelle Ezrig, touches upon trauma-informed care through the lens of Daryl Hammond's experience, where he was misdiagnosed multiple times with all kinds of stuff, heavily medicated, and yet he basically had what his doctor later would call mental injury as opposed to mental illness. And this is an important feature, I think, of our experiences collectively, namely that people do a lot of harm to each other, and the way we process it, our ticket for survival, can often come out in unexpected ways. In Daryl's case, his ability to impersonate people, from Porky Pig or any of those characters, was his survival tactic to deal with his mother, who tortured him. She was not made that way originally. She was tortured in her turn in order to be visiting that upon him. I don't know the full story, but maybe nobody does. Epigenetics passing down don't necessarily, they can jump generations as well. And in my case, I think it jumped a couple generations and was there in the background. But anyway, the shadows accompany us. It's not good to deny the shadow, to tell the shadow, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. You've got to be in the world, not of the world, in the world, taking it in, and having compassion, for everyone's walked a long road to get to where they are and made decisions, some good, some bad, good or bad, who's to say? There's no good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So many things we never can undo. What else have I got to say? It's hard to talk this long and walk. I caught a really good performance over here at the First Congregational United Church of Christ that put me into connection with an artist who I've never met in person, but is local, and I amplify her work. One of these days, I'll connect. But went to see a Philip Glass performance here, and it was for a farm to food, forget, but it was some charity involving farming and food. And yeah, it was a really great performance. There were a couple of people for me, a violinist and Philip Glass. She wanted me to get in there and talk to Philip Glass. I didn't have temerity to do that. Origami cranes there. A witness to peace and harmony. The children and youth of the First Church designed this crane display to embody our hope for a world of peace and harmony, love, and community. An intentional response to a world where there's war, cruelty, and division, and a world where too often we forget to love our neighbor and to care for the vulnerable. Since the aftermath of World War II, the origami canes are seen as a symbol of peace. The origins are in the life of Sadako Sasaki, a 10-year-old Japanese girl who died from radiation caused by the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. While sick, she set a goal of creating 1,000 cranes. May these cranes inspire us to be peace builders in our communities and throughout the world. Sadako Sasaki, 12-year-old Japanese girl, died from radiation caused by the atomic bombing of Hiroshima 80 years ago. She'd be in 92 if she was still with us. Think about that. 1,000 cranes. Yep. Ongoing advance in humanity to be given. We're close up by the Martin Luther King Jr. Library. Not mistaken, that's what it's called. Got some artworks standing out in the lobby and hanging in the windows. A little slick here. I got to watch my step. It's like a David Smith. Not sure it is. But yeah, looking back, looking forward, sources of artistic inspiration is up until September 7th, 2025. And it's the 40th anniversary of the Washington Sculptors Group, celebrating the organization's lasting contributions to the DC arts community. It also honors the DC Public Library's role as a living cultural archive, preserving the stories and histories of the district through the vast collections of literature, artifacts, and primary source documents, like this one. David A. Engelman joined. Hey, how you doing? And J. Emanuel, PhD, joined. I did not realize you were here, but glad you are. So we're reading about the exhibition, including freestanding and wall-hung sculpture, and the jurors for the exhibition included Linnea Haggerty, Director of Events, Exhibits, and Development at the DC Public Library, Yvette Pendleton, Program Manager for the Corcoran National Gallery Partnership, and Dr. Michelle May Curry, Curator of DC Commission of the Arts and Humanities and core faculty in Georgetown University's Master's Program in Engaged in Public Humanities. Wonderful. So there you go. We're going to continue along, heading over towards the American Art Museum from the Smithsonian and what National Portrait Gallery. What else we got? Let's take a look in the window as we walk by. So, a bust of Martin Luther King Jr., I believe. Book drop. Volunteer. Open 9:30 to 9. It's good to see. I will go in there sometime, maybe. I haven't been in a library in a long time. I sort of live in one of my own construction, but that's notwithstanding. Anybody else talking? Just watching? That's fine too. Free subscribers welcome. Paid subscribers, so appreciated. I don't expect much, I tell you what, but whatever I get, I am so grateful for it. Because we need it to keep going. The napalm in the heart. There's an interesting title. The Vortex. Into the thinnest of air. And the killer is some murder mysteries. Yeah, I guess I got a murder mystery going in my own head. But all the statute of limitations, is there such a thing for that? I don't know. Almost there. We'll have to walk around it, though. It'll be closed when we get there. Because it's open for quite a spell. So we either go down 9th Street, which sounds like a pretty good idea to me, What time is it? 9:59. So it's almost 10 o'clock. I think the Natural History Museum may be open. Mainly needed a place where I can take bio breaks. But I'm doing all right so far. Taking in the guards and the person and talking to the guards. Person walking wood fire kitchen and pizza bar. Capitals fans cheer here on the night. The Caps being our hockey team. Think about the money we spend on that. Here's where the Gallup organization resides. Gallup. Congress protect America's small business, smallbusinessdeduction.com. And will your family be prepared when disaster strikes? Ready.gov/start is a place to go for more information about that. Up by the Riggs Hotel, we're going to cross in front of the Smithsonian American Art Museum and Portrait Gallery. I'll keep on moving. Got about an hour till they open. We may come back through there. Yet, I have walked approximately 1 hour. I can walk for another 30 minutes away from where I reside. I need to turn tail and head back there sooner or later. Oh, place across the way has become the Puttery. That's weird. Shake Shack, Nando's, and then the Puttery. Hotel Monaco down the bit. And then we got 8th and F intersection. Lots of people. Smithsonian American Art Museum, National Portrait Gallery, Donald W. Reynolds Center for Art, American Art and Portraiture. 11:30 to 7 p.m. Free admission. You check it out. I got great collections. And artwork everywhere. Watching Head on a Swivel. Not swiveling the camera so much as that. I do have to press my gimbal into operation soon. But right now, I'm pretty happy with my handheld, rough, low production values. Filming of the passing show. If you're not, that's so be it. Had another couple of people join, it looks like. Enjoy your morning walks. I've not been to DC in years. Need to see the changes. Yes. And that's what I'm documenting, right? Primary documentation of the changes in origin. Hit me up on DM if you want to be on Heroings. I'm kind of booked up, and maybe this weekend I'll be able to get some more windows, but yeah. I got a little stump earlier today in a conversation where I found the person just sort of launching a whole lot of accusational toned projections at me, and that was weird. I found the conversation yesterday weird, and it's been weird for several days. I had them scheduled, I guess, let's see, 15th, 16th, 17th, for the 18th. But they decided not to go on. Now they're asking to go on again, and I was like, oh, no. You're showing yourself to be way out there beyond where I cannot even understand where you're coming from. So I don't think we can do it. And I reported and blocked the person because it's really weird, really disturbing in some ways. And, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know who's on the other end of the wire. It's really difficult to navigate sometimes. And it's been that way always. I've always taken the risk because I think people are interesting, but some people are dangerous. You got to keep that in mind. I know I'm dangerous at some level or another. Know what my capabilities are. And that, look, I was talking earlier today in the first live with Hal Gill session, the passing show, as I was going over to my office hours at Emissary. I was saying, you know, this is a little dicey, right? I was dreaming that I was being inducted into the military again. I mean, the first time, but again, sort of. I will better explain that later. But I was being inducted, and I was marching on the outside flank. We were making a wheel to the right, and I was thinking of, wow, our ranks are really way too wide to make this wheel effectively. You're going to have to really take off and step so far to make that come around properly. Because you have to shift the length of your stride to be equal with the wheeling, where the outside guys are traveling much further than the inside. The inside is basically just pivoting in place. And so that was there. And then I was waiting in chairs to be called in for an interview, which I was. And I was asked first, well, could you kill someone? And I was like, I hesitated. I thought, well, if the circumstances required it, probably. And I don't want to. I would rather not. I would prefer not to. That's what it came back to is I prefer not. That's the truth. I prefer not to kill anyone. I hope everybody feels that way, but obviously that's not true because it's an awful lot of killing going on. Awful lot of violence in our species. We can cooperate. We can be one. But man, do we ever find ourselves entitled in our minds to cast aspersions on others? And did I not do that in some ways just this morning? Coming to think of it, metaphorically speaking, but also sort of really. I mean, I cauterized a connection, hopefully, well, because I'm actually afraid of what this person might do to themselves or to me. Yesterday, I was pretty sure I probably was listening to somebody who was about to commit suicide. And I was like, that didn't happen. But I've seen it in action a lot that people have allowed or people have made choices, maybe not consciously. Maybe they've also had things happen to them unbidden, as often happens. And the result of that kind of thing, when people do encounter life circumstances that come to them, their responses and reactions. Well, Viktor Frankl said it. In the end, everything can be taken from a person, except for one thing, and that is how we choose to respond to what happens for us. What happens for us. I don't know, man. I'm hitting that philosophy button again. It's not humorous this time. I think of philosophy and humor is my like niche, but I'm not so funny. Not anymore, I don't feel. 1824 to 1886. That chap lived about as long as I have lived so far. February 14th, February 9th. He didn't make it quite as far, actually. I don't even know who that is offhand. I'm going to go around and see. But that's the equestrian statue there. I was reading the dates off the monument. They may not be visible to somebody watching on stream. But just before his 62nd birthday, if my math is correct, it is. At 5 days before turning 62, I managed to make that mark. This guy also made some marks, though, apparently. Otherwise, he wouldn't have a monument astride a horse of himself in bronze. Let's see who we're talking about here. I don't recognize him. Born on Valentine's Day, 1824. 101 years ago. And a bit. Nice American Eagle on the front side. I can't see this side. I got to get out on the sidewalk. Watching the fountains at the Navy Memorial. I pick up my feet, these rocks that it's made up of are uneven. I won't say it's, yeah, there we go. General Winfield Scott Hancock. So named for Winfield Scott, who was up at Scott's Circle that we crossed at Massachusetts and 16th Street, and now here at 7th and Pennsylvania. General Winfield Scott Hancock, 1824 to 1886. Mm. I elected not to go into the military. I thought about it. I thought about going into the Marines, didn't do it. Grand Army of the Republic monument there. Organized at Decatur, Illinois, April 6, 1866 by Benjamin Franklin Stevenson, MD. Monument to the Grand Army of the Republic, 1861 to 1865. Okay, let's cross. We've got 14, 13, 12. I'm getting the red hand flash. There's the U.S. Capitol down the way. Again, looking around for National Guard troops, not seeing any. But there were some down by the Lincoln Memorial. Boop, 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 boop. I'm going to make it. It's the National Archive next to me. I'm coming down by the Federal Trade Commission. And so pretty. That was someone's grandstanding on my profile and I blocked them. Not cool. Oh, for sure. Grandstanding on your profile. Weird. The behaviors of people online are very different than their behaviors in real life, I would hope. But sometimes people are very isolated, and I don't know. I certainly got the impression this person had become fixated on me and then said I was fixated on them because I was replying to them having a conversation, I felt. But wow, the tone and weirdness just went off the chain. And I think that some people are severely disturbed. So, got to be careful. We've got to be gentle with each other if we can be, but sometimes it crosses lines. And with me, I'm particular about this. This is something I want to work on. And I'll share it with all of you who tune in to the passing show. It is this. If someone crosses me and I suddenly become aware of the inappropriateness of it, I have no problem at all. That's not entirely true. I do second guess myself, but I have been known to entirely consider that person to have been metaphorically rendered into vapor. And as far as I'm concerned, I have vaporized myself in their eyes too, hopefully. If they don't reciprocate, I can't do much about that. I'm just not a fan of cruelty, of hypocrisy, of people treating me as though I am not their equal. I do not think I'm your superior, by the way. I think I'm your equal. And if I'm not your equal, I'm unaware of it. And if you want to impress upon me why I am not your equal, well, have at it. But chances are you'll find yourself just invisible to me as a result, because I don't cotton to that. And I don't think anybody ought to. And point of fact, I think we are all equal in the eyes of the one, of which we are all just iterations. So that's my thought. I see some hearts flying up. So nice. I appreciate that. I don't know for sure. When I do cut somebody off cold, I usually feel pretty much like, did they really deserve that? Does it really matter? It probably does. I wish them well. I wish them a healthy, long life and prosperity, health, happiness, prosperity, that they get everything I want for myself, that it all be given unto them. That's part of my practice. I try to make that stick. It's an executive function, though. And at the heart of it, I feel that automatic feeling that a prey I feel toward a predator. Flee, freeze, flee or fight, fight, flee or freeze. The three F's or the four F's. It's another F? I think so. But when I feel that fear come on, that visceral feeling of like, I am going to be eaten if I don't do something right now, take action. I think a lot of us feel that way. The grass coming in, that's great. But plant me a grass plants. I don't think that's open yet. Or maybe it is. It's the National Gallery of Art, folks. We're going to be going in, walking about, talking about it, looking at things that have lasted, that stood the test of time and gotten themselves in here. Products of human hands, given the opportunity. Probably I should push a button. No, a button to push. Well, I can get this far. Nothing coming out of that angle. Oh, yeah, I've got the light with me. There's the Federal Trade Commission. And I'm walking up towards the door, maybe open. Quite astonished that it's open this early. Time is it 10:16? Yep. Slippery when wet or icy. That's true. Don't know that I've ever slipped here, but I can imagine it. No. Here we go. Inward. Okay. Lovely. Okay. I'm here. There. Okay. May have dicey connection. 19% power, so running down. Your internet connection is unstable. Mhm. That is not surprising. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, right now in here. Accept. Okay, done. All right. So maybe back for a minute or two. Not even working. This is the Mercury fountain. It's not on at the moment, so really early. It's so pretty in here. Let's go and visit our only Leonardo da Vinci's Ginevra da Vinci. We're gonna look at some Rembrandts as we walk by. San Bernini. a jurist, Paduan. I don't know how to pronounce it. I was about to, I don't remember. It's Hadrian. Federico Lombardo. There it is. The one Leonardo in the United States of America permanently. So many great paintings. Lorenzo de Medici. Take a look at the back of it as well. Vergitum forma decorat. So it says on the back. Gorgeous painting. Move through rapidly. And we're going to leave you all here shortly. Symbolism. Lynn and I were watching a movie last night, Angels and Demons, like 2009 film on the Dan Brown novel about the Vatican. I think Inferno was better. A little more twisted. Dealing with some big themes. There's a painting down there at the end. I like to call graduate school, but it is what it is. Hans Memling's St. Veronica. The other side of this is really beautiful. Cup with a chalice of St. John the Evangelist. The visions we come up with come up and down. Death and the Miser by Hieronymus Bosch. Yeah. Yes. Origin, you're back. Good for you. Sort of had to drop for a while myself, I think, as I was transferring to the wireless at the National Gallery of Art. So many great paintings here. So, just stopping and researching one of these people and their lives. So worth the time. Susanna Formant and her daughter by Sir Anthony Van Dyck. That's a lovely portrait. And this one always sits me. Sir Peter Paul Rubens' Marchesa Brigitta Spinola Doria, 1606. I'd like to know more about that. Queen Henrietta Maria with Sir Geoffrey Hudson. Sir Geoffrey Hudson was actually a dwarf. And, interesting history. Bagpiper. Hendrik de Bruin. We've had that one in the collection since 2009. Same year as Angels and Demons came out. So many things moving. Daniel in the Lion's Den. One of my favorites. Definitely one that I identify with. have a portrait of myself up against that painting shot in 1995, around my birthday. I was touring this place with my friend from Sardinia, Daniela. Man, we mess that one up. Such a terrible thing. We got still lives and a carving of a novelist shell. Yeah, a novelist carving 1650. Mountain is 1670. Just amazing. With the lighting on it. Well, other novelists here. Part of the bistro downstairs. Temporary exhibit up. And they mix things up a fair amount. This one is, again, one that I identify with when I'm sitting writing at the bunker. Think of this. The Hermit by Garrett Dole. Oil on panel from 1670. And that's about it. Now, Lynn is calling me. Oh, so thank you for joining in this little mini tour of the Dutch and um, Italian areas of the National Gallery of Art. I'll be back later.